We have a fairly aggressive agenda tonight, and I'd like to start off with the call to order. And if you could do a roll call, Heather.
Sure. Mr. Schindler?
Here.
Mr. Eifelis?
Here.
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Lingenfelter?
Here. Okay, secondly, would like to approve the minutes of last month's meeting. I would entertain a motion. I don't see minutes.
There's actually no minutes.
There was no, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see those either.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't get a whole packet anyway. All right, so we won't worry about the approval of minutes. We can go to correspondence. Frank, any correspondence?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Rich Alfalise?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chairman. I did receive correspondence, but it's a matter that is likely to come before the BZA and at the advice of counsel. No details will be published about the correspondence at this time, so it's coming before the BZA.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
That was it?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I had one inquiry about the status of the old Quail Hollow Resort, and I just replied that we may get an update tonight from Heather, because the study was to be concluded in May, wasn't it?
Right. I do not have an update, unfortunately,
Okay.
though, this evening on that.
Okay, that's all I had.
I don't have the final copy.
All right, I did receive a correspondence from a resident in Lily Farms. They had inquired about off-street parking and some of the rules and regulations for off-street parking. Evidently, there's somebody that's got a landscape business or something to that effect, and they're parking their truck and trailer and everything on their property, and they were wondering if there were any rules or regulations that addressed off-street parking. And I sent them some screen snips of the zoning resolution from the conservation zoning development text, and I also referred him to Heather. Said, told him to give Heather a call and see if she could shed some further light. I asked him if there was anything in the HOA that addressed that sort of thing, and he said that he wasn't really aware of anything that addressed that sort of situation. So I said to call Heather, and Heather would probably be able to shed a little bit more light and give him some ideas of what his options would be if there was any recourse. And aside from that, I think that was pretty much it for me. So nothing else to report. Okay, so now we will move to the zoning inspector report. Heather, you want to give us a lowdown of what's going on in the township from a zoning standpoint?
Well, actually, I do not have any updates this evening. I was hoping that we would have the final copy of the Quail Hollow study and some kind of time frame as to when they're going to present that to the trustees, but I don't have that information at this time. So.
Any new permits, any new projects, any new exciting things coming to the township?
I mean, I unfortunately I don't have my June report to give you this evening like I would have, but there's been a little bit of discussion with the developer that has the corner lot at Cryle and Hunting Lake. He's working on his civil plans. He's got his architect that has done the building design for a commercial project.
Is that the Victor?
Ralph Victor Construction,
Yeah,
Todd
Ralph,
Victor,
okay.
yeah. So
Victor
he intends on,
Construction.
he does intend on submitting as soon as he has everything together, and likely will be in front of you in the next couple months.
Okay. All right, good.
That's really it for right now.
Okay, good. Okay, public participation. The town hall is just teeming with anxious residents to have their say about what's going on in the township right now. I see two people out there in the audience, and I think one is a applicant, a representative for an applicant, so I doubt that he has anything to say. Well, he will have something to say at some point. Anything from this side of the aisle?
Thank you. Yes. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening again. Well, first of all, and I know the first time when I was up here 2 months ago, I don't believe Mr. Peterson was there that night.
Can you do me a favor before you get too far? Could you please state your full name and address for the record, please?
Good, great idea. Okay. Chris Meldrum, I'm at 11159 Prouty Road in Concord. I've been a resident here for 10 years now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't want to
That's-
interrupt
thank
you, but
you.
I want to make sure that that goes in the record.
What I did decide to do, I figured, well, just to remind everybody what was my hot interest was, and I've had some pictures made up of the building over there right next to me. So I think it's very visual and obvious what my interest is. Here's the other side of it. This is not facing the road. This is facing actually my neighbor. I don't see that, but my neighbor does see that every day he walks out of his house. What I wanted just to talk about very quickly was I wanted to thank you and Heather for giving me, or permitting me to take a look at the draft revisions to the residential zoning. And I appreciate that, and I spent some time on it. My one area that I thought about or came to mind was I've been here for 2 meetings now, and there have been a number of times have been commercial representatives from commercial locations, parcels, people that are building things. They've talked very supportively with the board about landscaping on commercial parcels. And the one thing I realized on this residential paperwork was there did not seem to be any sort of mention at all of landscaping as a general subject. As I thought about that some more, I thought, well, I'm sure the board in the town doesn't want to dictate to residents very much at all about landscaping. But my thought was, if there was something general or generic put in the regulations about landscaping, it's sort of a card you can hold in your back pocket if in your discussions or approvals of something, it obviously looks much different than a residential normal house, that maybe that's a card one can play to say, soften something, obviously. And my suggestion was perhaps if folks can consider, is there a way that one can consider that? I'm not sure how you implement it, but like I said, all the commercial folks that talked here were very supportive of doing nice landscaping for the town. Why can't there be some sort of similar language that at least gives the option of the zoning administrator to, use that to help soften something that may be kind of unique and not really what most folks would want. That's all I have for my discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's an interesting point you bring up with regards to landscaping requirements, and I think it's a slippery slope that we go down when we endeavor on landscaping requirements, because then we start cross over from from basically the developer having the reign and the property owner having the ability to determine what kind of landscaping they do. Because typically that's not what we see in a regular residential development. So we don't see those, and we're because you've brought this to our attention, we have taken on in a very earnest way, coming up with some ideas on how we can curtail and prevent that kind of a situation from occurring again. So in the future, I know this doesn't do you any good, obviously, because what's done is done. But in the future, we won't see those types of situations occurring again if once we're finished, we kind of ratchet down the wording and the text that we want to put together for our residential zoning. The difference primarily with commercial versus residential is, commercial is typically a lot in an area that is where they're pretty much clearing the lot, taking down all the trees, bulldozing any sort of characteristics, topographical characteristics on the lot, just making it basically a big pool table top, and then you're erecting a building or some sort of a structure, commercial, building. And so in order to soften that and give some curb appeal in the townships, and so we put some requirements in landscaping to cover things like dumpsters and and back entrances and delivery locations and things like that for the buildings, and employee parking, and there's a lot of impervious services, surface that's put in with asphalt or concrete or whatever for the parking lot. And so for stormwater runoff and all those issues, we tend to require a little bit more of a thought and plan into what you're going to do once everything's done, as far as trees and shrubbery and maybe some detention, water detention areas, things of that nature. So that's why that's more of a requirement on the commercial side. On the residential side, we really don't get into that. Now, we do talk to the developers, especially if they're doing like a conservation zoning district or some of those things where they're going to have open space. We do have some requirements how they handle the open space, and some things about if they do disturb some of this designated open space, how they have to deal with that and what they're supposed to do to kind of rehabilitate it or put it back in the state that it was in before they started the construction phase. So we do cover a lot of that. But as far as dictating what goes on in individuals, personal lot, a residential lot, an R1 lot, or an thing of that nature, we don't really get into that. And that's a lot of times that's more of a homeowners association type of a thing, or that's between the builder and the homeowner, to do that. Rarely do we get situations where people, construct large commercial style, buildings on their property in a residential area that would require some sort of, because there isn't anything in the text that would address that. You know what I'm saying? We're in the commercial side, and like in B1 and B2 and those any sort of industrial type setting, we do address those issues, and there are requirements, and there's some very clear issues that have been addressed, and we've done a lot of work on those text to make sure that we get an end result that's good for the township. But as far as the residential side, because then you want to get in, then you're going to start getting, then what you get into going down that road with the landscaping is then you start getting into architectural review and what kind of buildings, what kind of houses you can build, and what's offensive to one may not be offensive to another, and it gets really ugly.
My suggestion is that it's the rare situation,
right,
is maybe the only time one would use it, but
right,
to have that card in your back pocket for those rare occasions, like on not on large developments, but on older lots, like out where I am, where someone comes in and just wants to do a house and then add something. So it's not that one that the zoning administrator or you have to do something or set standards,
right,
but it's one where when you're searching for, oh gosh, what, I didn't expect this is rare, what can I do to help mitigate it?
Well, what you can do as the adjoining property owner, you can take and landscape to your heart's content and put trees in or shrubs or whatever you want to put in, and a row that'll cover that, and you won't have to look at it.
If you already noticed, there is already a small line of trees.
Right.
In fact, that line of trees actually went in prior to the first time they scratched the ground.
Right.
And even prior to when I had a clue that this was what they were going to do.
Right.
But anymore.
So as an adjoining property owner, you do
Yes.
have options. You
I
could
do.
you can put up a fence. You could put up you can put up shrubbery or trees or buffers, whatever you want to put in, as long as it's on your property. And depending on the relationship that you have with your neighbor, you might even talk to them about splitting the cost. If it's going to be a big project and it's going to cost you a lot of money, you could go to them and say, look, you've put this up. How about going in halfers with me and to put up some trees and things to give me a little bit of a break from looking at your manufacturing facility next door. So, there's a lot of ways that can be handled.
Yeah.
But I think personally, I wouldn't be in favor of putting any sort of regulations in the residential side of things for landscaping or any requirements like that. I think that's for me personally, and I certainly can't speak for the rest of the board members, but that's a bridge too far as zoning is concerned. I think it starts to get to an area where it becomes really, really difficult.
I
And
realize
it can
it's a
get
slippery slope.
right. You can take yourself down some paths that might be not very. The end result, maybe what's the old saying? The road to ruin is paved with good intentions, right? So you may have some good intentions, but you may end up getting some things that you really didn't expect. There could be some residual issues that could come back to haunt you. So, but I appreciate I understand your point. I mean, no doubt about it. And we're not done with this yet. I mean, we're still working on the ratcheting things down, and I feel very confident that once we're done, and like I said, unfortunately for you, that doesn't help you, but it may help others in the future, or some of the other lots that are near you that'll curtail that sort of a situation from occurring again. We'll make sure of that. So, but that one, unfortunately, that one is done.
Yeah.
But I sincerely appreciate your feedback. I appreciate you taking the time to come up here. If you keep coming to meetings, you might get offered a job, so you better be careful. But we do appreciate your input, and we as all residents are welcome to come in here and voice their opinions on things and make suggestions. We're all ears. We certainly don't think for a moment that we can anticipate everything or we know everything. And we're always willing to learn, and we're always interested in people's opinions and people's ideas. So, and I would encourage you to, stay engaged. So, and we appreciate it. We really do.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. That takes care of the public participation component. Now we go on to new business. Item number 1 on the agenda for new business, we have a site plan review application number 59 submitted by Russell Arbuckle with EA Architecture and Design, Inc. on behalf of Pacific Bells LLC for a counter service restaurant with single lane drive-through, to be located at 7515 Crowell Road, also known as current parcel number 08A019B000020. We received quite a extensive packet of information, drawings, and staff report. And sir, if you're here to represent the developer on this project, before we get too far down the road, what I'd like to let you know is obviously today we are typically a board of 5, and today we have 4 here in attendance. So Hiram unfortunately isn't here today, and your hearing was scheduled, and this was an unknown occurrence. So what I would extend to you is the courtesy that if you're uncomfortable with having this heard by 4 board members, it would take 3 votes in the affirmative to conditionally approve the move forward of your project. If you want to wait until we have a full board, we can certainly reschedule this for another date. If time is of the essence and you're okay having this presentation with 4 board members, that's your decision. That's not our decision. I'm not gonna, one way or the other is okay by me. We can accommodate whatever your desires are on that.
Thank you.
So what do you want to do?
We'd like to proceed, I think.
Okay, super, thank you. Okay, so if you could please state your full name for the record and your address, and then you can start your presentation.
Sure. My name is Russell Arbuckle. As it said, I'm with EA Architecture and Design Incorporated. I'm here on behalf of Pacific Bells, the franchise owner for Taco Bell. They'll be the leasee of the land and building the Taco Bell at Crowell Road. As you said, you have a packet in hand and a staff report. We also received the staff report and are in agreement with the recommendations. We did talk with Fire Marshal about his concerns with the gas well. There's a natural gas well at the rear of the property on an adjacent lot. And Fire Marshal's a little bit concerned about it being someone jumped the curb, they could take it out and it could be catastrophic. So we're in agreement that they need some sort of protection and we're willing to provide that. We haven't yet come to terms and the Fire Marshal wasn't entirely sure of what that might look like and suggested we work with Heather to come up with a solution for that he and Heather both agreed upon, and we're amenable to that. Heather pointed out that we needed to widen the access road in front of the parcel, the half parcel, because this is a combined two facilities on one parcel. The part of the current access road that's there is not up to standards. It's a couple feet short, a foot and a half short, so we will widen it to standard. And then storm sewer review had some additional comments for the site plans, and we're amenable in making those corrections. Other than that, I think the only other issue was signage about the pole sign, which was inadvertent. Our plans, if you see the actual plans, the architectural plans, architectural site plan, and civil plans call for a monument sign similar to the key bank that's adjacent. But the packet that was submitted by the sign vendor included the standard Taco Bell pole sign, which I didn't catch, and it got submitted inadvertently. So we would not intend to have a pole sign, nor would we request one. We know what the zoning ordinances called for, and so we asked for the monument sign as I believe the zoning ordinances allow. So other than that, I'm here to answer any questions you might have, and look forward to answering them if you have any.
Frank, any questions?
Not at the present time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Rich?
I do have a question. Looking at the traffic flow and the driveways and so forth, it appears that the passageway over to Key Bank is going to remain open.
Correct.
That happens to be where I bank, and on the backside of that bank, when you come around through the ATMs, there are 2 ATM driveways there, and you're going to turn here. I don't know that that's marked one way, but obviously that's up to them, but it should be. But this traffic pattern here brings you right in front of the bank, and all that's there are a few parking spots for bank customers. And then you have to go all the way around down the side of the building to get over onto the access street. I just see, some congestion there. Most customers, I would believe, would leave up here by the Waffle House, but if they went that way, that could be kind of problematic because you have, like I say, you have cars parked in front of the bank, and you have to go all the way around. You have cars parked on the side of the bank, and you can't get out until you're way down here by the ATM entrance. So that's just a concern that I would have for that. And if any of you have ever used that Key Bank, you'd know what I was talking about, the driveway there.
Yeah.
This is kind of incomplete because it doesn't show the bank on here and how that traffic would have to go, but it's not like this is going to go straight out onto the street that goes in. It's got to go around the bank and down, heading east before it can get to the traffic.
Yeah, this other plan, I think, does show the key bank there.
Oh, yeah, okay. Here, you can see this a little bit more here. See, these are bank parking spots here.
Yeah.
So the traffic is going to go right between the parked cars and then have to come all the way down here. And this is where you get onto, what's the street that?
That's Friedel.
Friedel,
Drive.
yeah, right onto Friedel.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's kind of a bad flow there if cars exit that direction. That'd be a concern.
Sure. The thing about that access road was pre-existing, and
Yeah.
so we
Right.
don't have a lot of opportunities. There was,
know.
typically we would not necessarily agree with you that we don't really care for cross access.
Yeah.
Unless it's a situation where you can't go both directions on the road in front.
Right.
The primary road in front. Then we have some cross access in other facilities. We have cross access towards the rear of the property. In this case, with that outlot behind the building, there's no opportunity to exit anywhere else from there.
Okay.
And Key Bank would, we don't believe, we didn't ask, but we don't believe Key Bank would want that
Yeah.
closed. that access road.
I'm sure they wouldn't.
And so we kind of, designed around that to leave that as is. So I'm with you though. I think 95% of traffic from Taco Bell is going out the way they came in.
Yeah, should all go out over here.
So, especially
I would
drive-through
be,
traffic.
I would be surprised, Rich, because I bank at Key Bank also.
Okay.
And I'm up there often, and my accountant's in the back there on Friedel Drive, so I'm in that area quite a
Right.
bit. And I would be surprised because you can't see that curb cut on the side of Key Bank. If you're coming into Taco Bell from Crowell Road, you're not even going to know that you can exit there.
Yeah, it's
Unless you're from the area and you know that you
True.
could get if you were maybe from people from Quail Hollow
Yeah.
or that are back up and behind
True.
business people that are on Friedel Drive. There's a lot of offices over there. Obviously on Friedel, there's several office buildings and some doctors' offices and things like medical offices. And those people I could see coming in around that into that entrance there to get into the parking lot from around Key Bank. But to me, if you come in off of 90 or if you're coming off of 44 or Auburn Road and you're coming into Taco Bell, you don't even know there's a way to get through
You're right.
that parking lot to Key Bank because the building itself blocks that particular entrance there.
And initial studies that we had done had a cross access at the rear of the Taco Bell lot that actually joined the Key Bank lot and
Right.
went around to the
I was
east
just going to
side.
say behind that would be where the drive-throughs are.
But
Yeah.
then you're pulling out and Key Bank's traffic coming out
Right.
of their drive-through is coming at you.
Right.
And there was all kinds of confusion with that. And we went against our civil engineer and argued against having that cross access
Right.
at the rear for that very reason. Their dumpster's back in that corner as well, Key
Right.
Bank's dumpster. And of course, our dumpster would have to be back in that area as well. So it posed more problems to have that cross access also at the back than what we felt it benefited. And again, being on a shared lot, we're a little bit. It's kind of like being in a strip center. Some outlot on a strip center. There's traffic flow patterns in those outlots and things that maybe aren't necessarily ideal, but because they're shared lot, we don't have quite the same amount of.
And there
opportunities.
are no intentions to do more than a single lane for drive-through, correct?
There's ability to add a second drive-through entry point where you have two lanes coming into one. That's just a future and would have to certainly come back before everyone to be approved if it were to ever be needed. The only reason that was even brought up before was if traffic warranted it, where we were having problems with traffic backup, that it warranted having a second menu board to move traffic through there faster and not let them back up, then it might be suggested that be added and brought in.
Right.
Same way we have the opportunity, there's at the front and where much like Key Bank has those parking spots on the street side of that cross access aisle. Earlier studies had parking for us on that side as well. And again, we eliminated that to only be added if needed. But now we've added some trees in those same areas. We moved the trees to those areas so they would never be added. We would have to remove trees to do that. And I don't see that happening.
Okay.
So, but
what was the initial plan then, to move the building back further?
no, it all worked.
And then give you those parking spaces in the front?
It
or
all
what?
worked there. They would be just like Key Bank spaces. They
Right.
would be in that green space on the front. And we
Right.
preferred to have that green space and added I think there's 3 trees right in that area where those cars were originally going to go.
Right.
And then there's 1 street tree that's on the other side of the drive aisle. So there's 4 street trees proposed. And, but yeah, they would just be similar to the same ones as Key Bank has.
Right.
We didn't like the idea of cars backing out of those into
Right.
that cross aisle.
Yeah.
And we had enough parking spaces as is, so we chose to not go that route and put those there. So, and by closing that other cross access at the back, we picked up a couple parking spots at the rear that allowed us to have enough to meet requirements and meet our needs as well.
Would it mess things up if you had a sign here that said no exit face towards Taco Bell? In other words, to kind of tell people coming around that that's not an exit for them? It
For
could still-
the Taco Bell folks or
Yeah,
for the Key Bank?
Taco Bell folks, because in other words, the bank customers coming out of here, I do it myself, would go down and leave going through this way, but no southbound And
Yeah.
there's a sign here that says no exit, and people here would see that and know they had to go out over here, or,
I mean, I think we would entertain that if that was desired. I think that's a matter of engineering, city engineer, or township engineering telling us that that would make, you know.
not that people wouldn't ignore it anyway, but still, if there were a sign
Yeah,
there, you know.
I mean, and part of the idea of the cross-access, if you say no exit for the Taco Bell, does that mean the Key Bank folks can't cut through
Right.
there?
No, I'm saying it would only face northbound. So you're coming out of the bank, you wouldn't even see that sign, you'd just go out normally.
So, but you're saying for the Key Bank folks could go to the
They'd go to the north, and they could exit that way, or they could exit over here
But
onto,
what about Key Bank folks coming in from the north? If they see that sign that says
over
not an
here.
exit,
Well, they don't usually, at least I don't enter here, I come down here and enter off of Friedel, but you're right, they could.
yeah, if you're
could
coming
block
from
some
here,
people,
in
yeah.
this area, going to Key Bank, you're gonna cut through from
Yeah.
the Crowell
Yeah, you're
Road.
right, that could be, maybe they wouldn't like that either, so. Okay, it was just a concern, that's all.
Understood, yeah, it definitely has been a challenging lot, let's put it
Yeah.
that way,
I know it's not ideal, but, okay,
so, yeah.
that's all I had, Andy.
Thank you, Rich. Mr. Ifelis, any comments, any questions?
Yes.
I knew
yes,
you would have
yes.
questions.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm going to get back to Rich's point because that's not just a concern. For me, it's a serious concern. Let me get back to that. Our zoning resolution prohibits drive-throughs for table or counter service. Prohibits. Not as a permitted or conditional use, it is prohibited. It's specific in 1607E2. So I took the time to watch the BZA meeting, and my personal opinion is that the matter there was not enough time devoted to this issue, especially since it's a prohibited use. As you know, we just went through a number of changes to our resolution to remove conditional uses, let alone permitted uses, from areas we didn't want conditional use, i.e. gas station in the capital district. But come to find that an applicant can seek a use variance regardless of whether we have prohibited it or not. That seems to be the case, is what's occurred here with the BZA. I only say that as a backdrop because the rule of law, the zoning resolution that we take the time to work through, where we prohibit items such as a drive-through. The drive-throughs are being prohibited in many cities across the country because of traffic safety, air quality, congestion, cars sitting in a queue, just sitting there. There's a number of reasons communities ban them. For some reason, we had that in our resolution, but none of that was discussed by the board in reviewing this matter and granting a use variance for a drive-through. So that's my first, overall, when I saw this coming through in our packet. So I don't understand that. I find it objectionable to us as our board, primarily. Looking at the site, for me, as an engineer, it's shoehorning hundreds of cars a day in a developed area that's less than the size of my house. My size of my lot. It's like 4/10 of an acre here. When I say shoehorning, the drive-through, the congestion, even you can see the cars is showing up as going through here. When I reviewed the traffic study, and everything else is well prepared, Mr. Arbuckle, well prepared, but in the traffic study, in your summary, it's estimating 38 to 48 peak hour transactions. The study says 102 in the AM peak, and an estimate of 200 cars daily. The traffic study doesn't indicate the number of cars daily. There's 102 just in the AM peak hour, let alone daily. The reason I say that is the study, nor the county engineer, nor anyone has said that this doesn't impact traffic on Cryle, let alone the overall circulation of traffic that Rich just went through. There's nothing to analyze what I think is causing driver confusion with this type of approach, with cars coming in, cars coming from another parcel out, coming around. It's just, it screams at me like confusion for a driver. So, and then we have the overall traffic that we have here, right? You've got to go south to go north out of there. So drivers, as this indicates, 50% could be passed by. Not people that are coming, they're passed by. So they're coming off the freeway to get back on the freeway. So doing one of these, and then doing one of those. Those are the main concerns I have is internal traffic circulation. I would ask that a real examination here between these two. Well, the signage, I agree with Rich. Signage, you have to limit, you have to cut that off, in my opinion. That's my professional, personal opinion. But I'm not a bona fide traffic engineer, civil engineer. But this is going to cause it just looks like it will be traffic confusion. The study doesn't talk about it. It just generates trips. It doesn't speak to the internal movement of vehicles through here. That is, to me, is screaming at you. There has to be a better way on that. And in addition, obviously, the hours of operation I see here is like pretty much all day through early morning hours that I see here for that, which is, again, a concern that would be a concern of mine. Those are the main things that I see here.
And I would agree with Rich, if there is an issue and it's not your fault,
No.
it's Concord, but when you come, if you got off Interstate 90 and you want to go to Taco Bell, you could get to Taco Bell, but to get back to Interstate 90, you've got to go all the way down to Capitol Parkway, which is, we all know it's screwy, the people that live here, but it is what it is. And that would seem to be very confusing for your interstate customers that we're passing through. But again, that's not your fault. That's just the way our traffic pattern is.
If I may,
turn left.
to your point.
Yes, sir.
That is definitely, it's not a traffic impact analysis. It's not
Right.
it is
It's a
a
trip generation.
trip generation report, which was what was asked for by the county, as I understand. And not a traffic impact study was not requested by the county. And as I understand, Crowell Road's county road, if I'm not mistaken. So
Correct.
that's why that was the way it is.
Okay.
But it's not that we would have been opposed necessarily to a traffic impact analysis, but that's not what was requested from our understanding.
So that's why, well, that explains that. For me, this needs a traffic impact study, no doubt, including internal circulation. It could have been not oversight by the county, but this is, and again, Rich brought it right up in terms of internal circulation. Movement of vehicles from Cryle onto here while cars are exiting Key Bank and them having to turn left into the drive-through while cars are coming this way and then coming out through the drive is just.
And cars exiting the ATM.
And the cars exiting the ATM. It's just,
it's kind of-
it screams at traffic confusion. We're going to create issues for drivers, for public safety.
If I may speak
That's
to
on the
that.
site. Yes.
One of the things that we discussed with that is that Crowell Road at that section, that piece as you come off of, I don't know my roads there, I apologize, I'm from Central
Yeah,
Illinois.
yeah, sure.
But as you come through that stoplight, make that right turn to turn in front of Waffle House, and then you're there, at the proposed lot. Key Bank's next, and you make that turn as you go down Crowell Road. The traffic at that point is not the traffic that's out on the main road. It's not the amount of traffic. It's not at the speed everyone coming out of the drive-throughs, both the bank drive-through, the drive-through from the Taco Bell, very low speed, very low impact, very, very, what's the word I'm looking for, regulated as it comes out. It's not a serious amount of traffic like at a stoplight. It's segmented because you're waiting at the window, you get your food, you come out. So it's one car at a time, so to speak. So it has been thought about and looked at. We've talked about it with the engineers. I don't see any other facility that goes into that lot having a different impact other than it being more continuous, perhaps with Taco Bell, as opposed to perhaps some other store.
No, I beg to differ. The drive-through creates the traffic. The drive-through creates far more traffic than a sit-down counter service restaurant. You got 100 cars an hour at the peak hour. It's incredible. A lot of cars coming through small space. It's just that's on the overall issue is I just don't understand how this comes before us as a use variance. It's done. I know we did this before with the gas station, but to see it come back to us again, I just don't understand. Nothing has happened. It's just the drive-through is prohibited. But
Well,
it's here.
if it's prohibited, how did they get the okay to do this in the first place?
Through the BZA.
The BZA did it.
They approved it, so.
That's,
That's-
if it, and Heather, I mean, if I speak out of turn on this, please feel free to correct me. But that's the purpose of the BZA. You know, when there's a variance request, we write,
Right.
Rich, Felice is 100% correct. We spend time writing the text and coming up with the zoning resolution. And then if there's a designated use that somebody wants to do within that, and it falls outside of the regulations that we've established, they can take it to the Board of Zoning Appeals and appeal and appeal their case that they want to make a variance. Okay, if the BZA grants their appeal, really not much we can do about it.
It's not a recommendation, it's law.
Right.
It's law.
I mean,
The thing is-
State of Ohio.
they're the final arbiter,
Right.
as far as that is concerned. I mean, the option from the BZA is through the courts, correct? They would have to file an appeal and go through the court. It wouldn't come back to us. We've done our job. We put the zoning resolution together. We've got the framework and the construction of the zoning text together. That's our job. Their job is to interpret when there's deviations from that, and when those deviations come up, they make a decision, and they could have very easily they could have said no, and Taco Bell would have their only recourse would have been to appeal, right?
I guess my point, Mr. Chairman, is they wouldn't even have the opportunity to say no because it was a non-permitted, excluded use, which is why we excluded gas stations from the capital district. I thought when we were done with that, we won't see another under this premise, we could see a gas station in the capital district. It just defies, we're wasting.
Well, the only thing we have in our
It's
tonight,
not right.
the only thing we have tonight, because of what you brought up on all this, is just deny the zoning for this building.
Well,
Because of that.
when you say deny,
In other words, don't.
No, we tried that. We tried that. We tried
Yeah.
that with Sheets. We did the same thing. We did the same exact thing with Sheets. We said that we did not want a gas station there at that
we
location.
did, but it
Yeah,
was a
and we told
conditional
them- we told
use
them no, it
in the
was
zoning.
conditional.
Yeah.
In
But
this
there was-
case,
in
there
this
is no conditional use for
But the
drive-through.
BZA allowed it.
No.
They still allow it.
Right. See, and we've done that already. So I think it would not be, and I'm not going to predict the future from this, but I think it wouldn't be wise to deny this based on that issue. I
No,
think it
that's
would
why
be-
I mentioned that as I have more of the issue because of that fact. I agree, Mr. Chairman. The issue for me is the site. the site, for me, is not suitable for a drive-through. And the way the traffic is gonna move, the movement through here on this particular 4/10 of an acre that's developed here, to move 100 cars an hour through there is just,
Yeah, I understand.
that's my, if you want to talk that objection. Yes, I object to what the BZA did, but that's not the premise of which I would either deny or look for a traffic impact study or something to alleviate traffic circulation or look at the impact somewhere to mitigate what looks to me, in a professional opinion, fraught with concerns with driver confusion, driver congestion, and accidents. It's an
And there again, safety is supposed to be one of the things we govern ourselves on too.
yeah.
Health, safety, and welfare
Yeah.
of the community.
Yeah.
So if we see something like this, it behooves us
Yeah.
to address it.
Let me throw this out. What about Rich goes over to Key Bank and goes, all right, see something, I feel like a Taco Bell. I'm just going to park and I'm going to walk.
Yeah.
I'm not going to park. I'm going to walk across here while all these other cars are moving.
All right.
You know, now I'm being a little off color here, but there isn't a prescribed walkway, if you will.
No, I understand.
here, because if you did, you couldn't manage it with all the cars moving around,
Or the
Sure.
bank employees eating there.
or the bank employees going over,
See,
or
the-
Taco Bell plays
the-
rest banking.
The thing that strikes me about this, I spent enough time in this particular location on various times of the day and various days of the week, is that when people come out of that access road onto Cryle, they're going to go down and want to get on 90.
Yeah, right.
They're going to turn right.
They want to turn right.
And there's signs everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's,
But if you're coming off.
but I just watched the other day as I was in that area, I watched a guy come out of that access drive from Key Bank,
Yeah.
went down to went the wrong way, and he wanted to get onto 44 to go to 90. He
turned in red line.
He just turned right there at the light. He just
I've
where's
seen that
nothing.
too.
Where there's no left-hand turn.
At least
He's
a
supposed to
left-hand
go
turn,
straight.
yeah.
He turned left anyway, and went about his business. Went up and got onto 44 and jumped on 90 and was gone. And I'm thinking, and that's with nothing there.
Yeah.
Now you throw in the traffic coming from 90 and people wanting to stop at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to get right back onto 90.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to drive all the way down to Capitol Parkway and get on 44 and come back? I don't think so. I just don't think so. That concerns me because the access there, and I don't know what the solution is, because that whole thing was very carefully designed and engineered. How do you accommodate that? Do you suddenly allow people to start making left-hand turns there at that light?
That's an ODOT issue.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
The state-
I mean, that's a big, and so you take that traffic that you're talking about, okay, and the number of cars coming in and out of there. I don't know. Where are you gonna have any signage on 90 for people to know that there's going to be a Taco Bell at that, other than what's the gang sign that shows like food at this exit? Are you gonna have is there gonna be a sign on the 90 area for Taco Bell?
It would be like you said, the gang
At the
sign that
exit.
says exit at, Taco Bell at exit, whatever. I'm assuming. That's
Right.
not my area, but I would assume every Taco Bell that's anywhere within proximity to an interstate has one of those. So, McDonald's across the street I'm sure has one that says, take right here to go to McDonald's.
Right.
So I assume that would be there, but
So my question is of the amount of drive-through traffic they're going to attract, how much of that would be non-Concord area traffic?
It's like 50%.
50%. So
That's what I would
50%
guess,
of that is they're thinking is going to be
Down-
people
down-
jumping off
yep.
off the freeway to grab some Taco Bell. Because, quite frankly, I'm a closet Taco Bell fan, and
I'll be in line.
I have very specifically gotten off exits on the freeway when I've been traveling that show that there's a Taco Bell to get Taco Bell.
I stick
so,
to Chipotle. Sorry.
yeah, I'm just saying. But the point is that my concern, obviously the residents and people that that are in this area that would go there know the traffic pattern and know what their options are as far as exiting or getting to either a 44 or to 90 or whatever, versus people that are just coming in, just randomly jumping off the freeway to go to Taco Bell. They're going to get to that. They're going to get there, no problem. But when they want to turn around and go back, they're going to go to the red, and they're either going to be turning around in the Red Hawk parking lot, okay, to be able to make the proper turn to get back onto 90, or they're just going to turn. They're just going to just completely ignore the no left turn sign and just turn left at that light there. I don't know if you've seen that area, if you're familiar.
Well, I'm a little bit familiar. I've been to the site several times.
Right.
But,
there's no question. It's an awkward design. It really is. It's an awkward design, and a lot of people get confused. And there's a lot. And you're not supposed to turn left there to get onto 44 to get to 90. You're supposed to go back on Crowell Road all the way to the intersection at Capitol Parkway to get onto 44, and then drive. And it's what, a mile? It's not a short distance. So that was one of the issues that concerned me, is that what's that's going to do to that light there in that intersection, because that's already confusing as it is, and then we throw that amount of drive-through traffic into that area, and Rich, I think your consternation on this, from the BZA is, I think it's very well, put. I mean, I don't understand either why they would allow a drive-through when it's prohibited. And then the question is, did they? I didn't see the hearing. I try to avoid watching what the BZA does, just simply because of my role, on the zoning commission, and I the same way I don't really follow what goes on with the trustees. I have my say. I sit here at this dais, and I have the opportunity to speak my mind and give my opinion, and I kind of like to leave it at that.
Normally, I
Right.
do the same, Mr. Chairman, except when I saw this was a prohibited use. So
Right.
what was their reasoning?
Right.
So they had to demonstrate hardship. Nothing else could be built here. Hardship.
But you can't have a Taco Bell without a drive-through. I mean, it wouldn't be practical. I've never seen one.
That's the definition of a hardship.
Oh, I know.
Is not that.
For Taco Bell, it would be.
For Taco Bell, yeah. But so anyhow, that's why it attracted me to kind of watch this.
Well, that's why I was questioning because I don't know. I've in travels recently, I'm seeing some new, counter service drive-through restaurants going in various locations outside of Concord, and I've seen some really elaborate and complex drive-throughs, like 3 lanes, 4 lanes with 3 or 4 kiosks.
Oh yeah,
And Chick-fil-A and some of these other places some of these drive-throughs are really crazy
we're doing some
to
of those,
accommodate,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I that's why I asked: would there be plans at some point in time to make this a multi-lane? Because then I think then to me, if this would turn into a multi-lane drive-through,
Like I said, I think the only way that would ever come to pass is if it's required because of the traffic, because it becomes a problem.
Right.
That the queue becomes too long, that cars need to move through that queue faster, so to speak. So that's the point of the dual order points.
And I don't know what the honeymoon period is with a new restaurant opening. Like, there's the novelty, right? And that initial surge. There's a Taco Bell. Everybody's going to Taco Bell, right? And then things taper. I don't know. Do they typically then start to taper off at some point? Does the novelty from a local presence standpoint kind of wear off, and then the drive-through traffic tapers down, or does it maintain that steady flow? Is that an expected steady flow all the time?
Yeah, and
type of thing.
I can't speak to that really, because I'm not
Understand.
into operations. I'm not into operations and that sort of
Sure.
thing. But if I may, to your point, to a certain degree, I'm not necessarily in disagreement with what your concerns are about what the ZBA may have done or not. I've been on both of these kinds of boards, both the ZBA board and other boards like this. So I'm not necessarily in disagreement with your concerns about that, but to a certain extent, from an argument could be made that that's been litigated in that forum. And so now it is a permitted use in this forum, to a certain extent, that's the case. So, you know, that would be something I'd at least like to put on the table, that's been discussed,
Yeah, no.
and the mechanism that's been put in place has been, we've been through that. So
You have?
to revisit it seems,
Correct, and I'm more revisiting it because of my frustration. I'm more concerned with, and I'll again go back to Rich's point, locals that come Friedel, the access, they want to go to Taco Bell without going on the Cryle, then they're coming through the bank drive.
Through the bank, right.
Then the passerbys are coming in this way. They're all trying to enter this way. After, it's just fraught, in my opinion. If there was a way to cut that off,
I was
to
looking
the
at
acceptability of,
Rear access, but there's nothing back.
there's
there.
nothing back. I did that too.
Golf course.
I did that too, right.
to a certain extent, is that not the point though of cross-access roads, is to connect parcels like that so you can cut through one parcel to get to the other, to keep traffic off of the road?
If it avoids confusion on, this is drive-through. Again, if there wasn't a drive-through,
Sure, I get it.
Probably.
Yeah, I understand. And
Yeah.
Waffle House doesn't have a drive-through, but they're open 24/7.
correct.
And the bank has a drive-through that's not
Correct.
open 24/7.
Correct.
And nor are we open 24/7, or proposing to be
Pretty
open
close.
24/7. Eight to, 3 or 2 or whatever, I don't even know.
4 a.m.
But you know, the argument's made that there is a drive-through already on that lot. The bank has a drive-through already on that lot. Now, granted, it's different traffic, and I'm not in disagreement.
It's way less and different. Absolutely. It's
Sure.
not even in the
It's not-
spectrum of.
It's not
the
as
numbers.
consistent, but they also have multiple lanes. So it does add up at certain times.
And so that more adds to the concern of that conflicts internally on that access.
I respectfully disagree, like I said, disagree with that, but
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I can say a couple things. So the county engineer did in fact only request the trip generation analysis memo. I never got, rather the deputy county engineer, Tracy Sakowitz. I provided all of this information to her, never got any feedback or comments back from the county, but I also just want to remind you that you do have the ability to ask for a traffic impact study. So if you want something more, that what you've been talking about and the applicant's agreeable to providing that to you, that's something that you could consider requesting.
That would be, thank you, Heather, that would be absolutely my recommendation, but the traffic impact to also assess the internal traffic circulation as well as impact on Cryle.
The Cryle and the I-90 exit thing.
The entire
And then you've got
movement.
a large neighborhood right behind you here, this Quail Hollow development, that once they know there's a Taco Bell, they're gonna be coming down, and as you pointed
Right,
out,
Friedel.
you take a shortcut, you go around
Right.
the ATM, or you
Right.
come around the bank parking.
Right.
And then you're turning against incoming from this direction.
direction.
So there is a concern there for sure. I have no problem with the restaurant, it's the lot is not the ideal.
No, the lot is not ideal.
Any other comments, Mr. Eiffelis?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
No, I
No,
I want to make sure you're,
checking through my notes. No,
I also, Mr. Chairman, the BZA did not have a copy of the trip generation analysis memo at the time that was presented to them either.
yeah, I didn't watch the hearing, so I don't know what their reasoning was.
so they made a ruling without knowing the traffic?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Mr. Schindler, you have any questions now that we've had some additional
Well, it
commentary?
would sound like if we get this study, and it is really what I want to say, concerning safety-wise. Would that give us the discretion of denying that legally? Not have to worry about going through being sued and everything like that, because we're there again. We're taking a decision based on safety of the community.
I can't answer that, Mr. Chairman, but in my experience with our firms do in TIS, traffic impact studies.
Right.
It depends on the severity of the conclusion.
Sure.
You know, as Mr. Arbuckle might know, there's a level of service.
Sure.
So when you do look at traffic, so the level of service on Cryle, there's A, B, C, D levels of service, meaning how many cars
Right.
move through. Say, so it might lower the level of service, but it might not lower it to a degree where you might say, oh God, we can't have this at all. But accept the level of service that's being reduced. It doesn't impact, adversely impact the traffic. So it depends on the impact.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what
so
I
it
mean.
depends. The severity of it.
Right.
Again, it's the internal circulation that if there could be some way to cut this off from a key bank.
I think Key Bank would balk at that.
That
So,
probably don't doubt that, but perhaps if they.
I mean, I don't think we would be opposed to that, but I
Yeah.
think the landlord and Key Bank would balk at that. So I don't think we would be opposed to
But I
that.
think if a traffic circulation study said could cause accidents, how can you, again, it's in writing. If it's in writing and the landlord still denies they don't want to do that, then I think there'd be.
Yeah, I just think as a tenant, I think Key Bank would have a problem cutting off one of their entrances to their lot. So I think that would be problematic there. And I don't think it would solve your concern, what it might be. I don't know that it would solve your concern about the traffic from the interstate and some of that. So,
It's a crazy thought, and I don't even know if it's
Come out with
feasible.
their own access.
What if you cut
What you're
through
thinking?
here?
The key bank, this
Not
right
here.
here? Key
No,
bank?
cut it here, so that if you could cut this so that, fill this in here, and have the entrance to Taco Bell here, where you come in like this and go around, and then you exit over here. You don't even need this little piece in here. If you could do a cut through there, I don't know if that's even,
they wouldn't allow two
Two
curb cuts
curb
that close
cuts.
together.
okay,
I think maybe it's this one.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
And I'm
there.
not- Yeah, and I'm not even sure they would off that.
Yeah, maybe not
State
even
right
right.
away would allow even.
Well, that's Cryle, so it's not a state, it's a county
Yeah,
road.
that's Cryle.
County
The
road.
main road is 44
Yeah,
over
yeah,
here.
it's out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right, but again, counties looked at it and we offered for them to give us suggestions.
They haven't thought about that?
They haven't made any suggestions that I'm aware of.
There were no
Now you
comments.
kind of, okay, yeah.
This is it, yeah, Cryle.
And,
Yep.
and like I said, that, we did put it in front of the county engineers for that purpose. So, relying on their local experience and yours as well, experience, but getting the input from staff, it has been factored in, both at the county and local, obviously. So, like I said, we feel we've done everything that's been asked of us to, have this accepted, along with getting the variance, getting the approval for the drive-through lane with a sit-down restaurant. So, and as you said, the county requested the traffic impact in it, or not the traffic impact study, but the trip generation report, and that was what was provided. So, again, I think we've stepped over every hurdle that's been placed in front of us for this. So we're hopeful that you'll see that we take your concerns seriously and have. Any more than that?
So the flaw here, Rich, would be cars pulling in here. This is kind of
I
one way.
was just thinking
You're
that.
gonna
It's the
hit
same.
it head on right there.
I'm just thinking of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't flow into.
Yeah, I
there.
know, right.
Whereas right here would, but
Yeah.
he's right.
But no, they wouldn't,
allow
keep
a
this
curb
here.
cut here.
This just comes out. Keep this here, I'm standing a second driver.
Oh, I see.
So that key bank still has a second, has their
Okay.
access, if you cut it off.
That's what I thought too.
That's what I was
Okay,
gonna say.
yeah, you're right there. And then Taco Bell's got, that's
Yeah,
perfect, that's
right,
perfect,
right.
but I don't know if that's doable.
Yeah.
Mr. Peterson, any other comments?
My only thought is that, you know, the restaurant proposal, I think I'm fine with. It's just that lot, it's just so many questions in my mind. I would like to see a further study done on the impact of traffic from Quail Hollow, the impact on traffic, thinking they can get back to I-90 by turning right when they can't, that type of thing. That's just my thought.
I believe the signage, when you come out of Friedel, there's a sign that says I-90, you gotta go south.
Yeah, and you'd have to
Coming
put
out of
one
here,
up
there isn't one,
No, there
Right?
could be one.
but there isn't.
Yeah, you'd have to put that up there. And that
Just-
might
just a
fix
thought,
that
no.
problem. A big sign coming out of the exit of
That's
Taco
what,
Bell.
Right.
saying
that's what a
I-90.
TIS would do. It
Yeah,
analyzes
I-90
those.
only this way. You have to turn left.
So what,
These are off-site.
We'd be
issues,
more than happy
not
to
on-site.
take that
Off-site.
suggestion to the county. I mean, again, that's county road, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So we'd be more than happy to take that suggestion to the county and say, this is our recommendation based upon talking with Concord Township and see what the county has to say.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the county, that they would be willing to do that or not. If they'd have it at the other road, I'm not sure why they wouldn't, but especially if it would impact people not turning against where they're not supposed to.
Right, exactly.
so Rich, you want Rich Eye Felice, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, there's already a sign right there.
Oh, at this other one?
Yeah.
Is
At
that
the
true?
current location. I'm on Google Maps right now. I'm looking at so here's the drive, right? Here's Waffle House. Here's the access. And as I look right there, they already have a sign there.
Across the street,
Yeah.
across Crowell Road.
As well as Friedel.
I don't know at Friedel. This is at the drive we're talking about that's in question. So here's, sorry, my screen goes black when you,
Yeah, okay.
but then as you pan over.
Oh, there it is.
Well, there is.
It's right there.
And then how about Friedel?
Okay.
Check at Friedel.
So
I'll let you know.
you
Friedel.
want a
Sorry.
traffic impact study.
That analyzes the internal traffic movement in light of public safety, and congestion, driver confusion, all those things that go into what we've been talking about here without doing an analysis. We are
It's
ourselves
also
see
at
it.
Friedel.
But also the impact of this amount of cars loading cryo at the peak. That we don't know what it does to cryo. I'm surprised the county didn't, but
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, at Friedel Drive as well, the signs are there
There
pointing
too.
south for 90 and 44.
Thanks, Heather.
Sure.
Counselor, if we requested a traffic impact study to be done, and it came back with some bad results that would recommend, that would indicate something as far as a bad design or whatever, would we be able to use that as an ability to prevent that from moving forward with the traffic impact study, or would that just be, is that just a guideline for us? Could that, you know what I'm saying?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think you can use it as a guideline. You're allowed to look at any factor and I guess deciding kind of what you're going to do. But since this is preliminary, right, site plan, preliminary approval, it's not final. I could imagine that it is wrong if it's final. It is final? Mm-hmm. Oh, I apologize. I thought this was preliminary. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to actually look. Again, you're allowed to look at any factor and consider any factor, but the fact that the drive-through is allowed now because of the use variance, that has been determined. So can you ask for specific changes to the proposed site plan in order to receive final approval? Because based on the traffic impact study, I think the answer is yes.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Could you ask for specific changes as to their plan based on the traffic impact study? If in fact you had bad results, I think the answer is yes. I don't know that they have to necessarily agree. That would maybe then be the issue, is could they then challenge your decision if you do condition it on the traffic impact study and changing it to comply or abide by or make the result better. I would think that it would have to be some sort of an appeal of something to a court.
My question is, from a township aspect, with the BZA, granting this variance, is it within our purview to be able to go against that?
No, you cannot undo the use variance.
Right.
So the traffic study would be a new
There's
issue.
no, recommendation is not to undo a use variance, it's already done. My recommendation is to do a traffic impact study and understand whether the impact impacts the level of service, particularly the internal traffic circulation.
Right,
How
yeah.
will public safety be hampered by the movement of cars between these parcels in Cryle?
All right.
That's what I think is more impactful, sorry, use the same word, than the loading of vehicles on Cryle. Just my guess, just knowing the level of traffic, level of services on Cryle.
So, Counselor, what would be the appropriate action from my seat to commandeer the traffic impact? Would we table this? Would we?
You could.
We would take. Would the proper process be to table this application until the traffic impact study was completed, and then reopen it? So you know what I'm saying? What would be the administrative process to do that?
Right, just like you said, you could table it. You could also ask the applicant if he's willing to provide the traffic impact study. And then you could table it until it's done, and then reconvene at another meeting
Take a recess.
and look at the study, and then compare, in your further review of, if you will, final approval plan.
Right. Is that what you want to do, Rich?
That would be my recommendation, yes.
If I may ask,
Yes.
to what is to what end goal, I guess, it's not going to reduce the cars. It's going to potentially redirect cars to a new location. It's already been approved to have a restaurant with a drive-through on this lot. So to what end does the traffic impact study make change or allow us to make change to, we could make change to the site plan, but I think we would be willing to do that with recommendation now if we were to get approved. But I don't know to what end the traffic study changes. It's not going to change the flow of traffic, and it's not going to change the use of the site.
That's my question. Is this an exercise in futility?
It is not a study to change the flow. It is a study to understand the impact and the potential driver confusion, accidents, the probability that could occur internally with the way the cars have to move through the site. That we do that it's done. They do this all the time.
Yeah.
And it's merely looking at the impact of that and understanding that from a public safety perspective.
Well,
That's all it is.
With that being said, would that give us the authority or request the applicant to redo this drive-through in such a way to minimize the chance of?
I don't know, because we don't know the traffic.
That's what I mean.
impact. So we,
If we get that,
You can't, nobody can answer that right today. Believe me.
If
No,
they
but-
point out though in this impact study, just what we're thinking here.
Yeah.
His solution here, if we could do a curb cut further down here and make that an exit for KeyBank and just block this section off.
Cut it off.
It would not impact Taco Bell at all. The traffic, the circulation of traffic would be perfect. There'd be no interference from KeyBank, and KeyBank would still have an exit.
right. And the study would confirm that would be a good approach to take.
I just get, I mean.
No, I'm saying
Whoever-
this could probably do that
I don't even
to
know if you
solve
need a
this
study
issue.
to confirm that. I think it's common sense.
Well, yeah, it might be common sense to us.
Yeah.
But legally and everything else that we have to look at as a board, that would give us the supporting data we need to confirm that. That's the way I look at it.
Mr. Arbuckle?
I'm not sure the traffic study will tell you what change to make. It will tell you if a change is needed.
It would tell exactly.
And so, and to, if I may, I'm not trying to poke at this sketch, you know.
That was spur of the moment.
I get it, and I agree, and I do it all the time, because I can't talk without a pencil in my hand. I'm surprised I don't have my pen out up here just drawn in the air as I'm talking. But, you know, even if we were to do, you know, to suggest this change, then does that require then another traffic study to see if this creates the same impact in 2 locations instead of 1? You know, that sort of thing. I'm not trying to say, no, we don't want to do this. And honestly, I don't have the authority to say, yes, we'll do it, or no, we don't. I have to ask. I've been trying to text and I can't get him to answer me. So I apologize for that. But, you know, I don't want this to be okay, we did this, and now, okay, to solve that, we're going to create this new situation or this new plan, and is that going to create a new situation? And, you know, it's the tenant, which is my client, it's the landlord that controls both the KeyBank site and our site, and then KeyBank. So there's a lot of players that all have to agree to that.
Agree.
Where the players that are involved to date have agreed to this, the landlord, the tenant, the county, and so far, anyway, the township, to this point. So, you know, everyone's in agreement to that point. And I just don't want to have to bring new players into that this late in the game, if at all possible. And again, I'm not sure that we're solving the issue with the traffic impact study, but perhaps it might be identifying it, but I don't think that it necessarily would solve it.
And
So-
too, I'm thinking of this, if we were to block that off, that might be an issue with the fire department, because there's only one entrance in.
Yeah, but it could be
Safety.
still, no, but it could still be used. You know what I mean? It's one of those,
Okay, yeah, you could, no, that kind of, okay.
yeah. I appreciate the comments. I stand by recommendation. Deriving conclusions when we don't have this understanding the problem, there's a problem. I think that's a problem. We've observed, we're talking it without an analysis. It's a serious concern. I am voicing that ultimately, if it leads to changes, well, maybe it'll improve public safety. So, anyhow, that's. I can't in my right mind approve it as submitted without understanding what this is going to create.
What could come of an impact study is we're overthinking this, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if we're overthinking it, then,
Yeah,
Then it gives us the answers we're looking for.
right, exactly.
yes.
You know, and then we can move on. I would suggest that we recess this hearing right now, get the study so we can evaluate our decision making.
I think as council pointed out, Chairman, asked the applicant if they would do that. I mean,
Well, yeah,
That's right.
well-
right.
True.
So, Mr. Arbuckle, would you be willing to do a traffic impact study for us on this?
Can I have 1 second? Sure. I actually got my employer on the my client on the horn here. So I need to find out if he will.
I'm not crazy about doing this, because I personally, there isn't anything that I take exception to with your points, Rich, as far as the traffic and everything else is concerned. But my thought process and seeing this, what's going to change? You know, what's
I don't know.
right?
Yet.
Right. What's going to change?
It could.
So
Not knowing what we're creating. If we're, to Frank's point, maybe we're not. Maybe this doesn't.
Right.
But again,
it's gonna
for
give
me,
us
it
peace
does.
of mind.
It does.
Yes.
I've
Based
done
on
these
your
before,
experience
we've
and
done
stuff.
It does.
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. It combining, especially that peak, that number of vehicles.
Yeah.
Entering, exiting over here, through here, and
Right,
that
it's-
AM peak, it
it's a
coincides
mishmash.
with the bank.
Yeah.
Or people coming around this end in front of the ATMs,
Yeah.
people trying to exit ATMs.
And we see how people are today, our driving habits today. You talk about people not paying attention, what they're doing, cutting people off. I'm in that every day when I'm making my sales calls. That what the heck are these people doing today? You know, you talk about following signs. Nobody files signs anymore.
No, Mr. Chairman, that's just stand by the recommendation. If the board chooses to give conditional approval, that's your prerogative.
Yeah,
I've
I understand. But you want
studied
to.
this a lot.
You want to
Studied
well,
have.
it,
here's as in my chair, the thing that I'm grappling with on this is making a request that's not going to change anything. That's my concern. And then it just delays the project. It puts, the applicant in an awkward position. And, I understand, I don't disagree, but I also am wondering, does that action achieve what we want to achieve in this process? Because we cannot undo what's been done by the BZA, okay? We can't turn this into a non-drive-through Taco Bell, okay? We deny the application as it's submitted based on the information we have. I think we just expose ourselves unnecessarily. It's already like Mr. Arbuckle said, the county, there's multiple entities that have given their tacit approval for this project. So what do we accomplish in the process? And my only concern is putting the applicant through an undue delay that for edification on a traffic impact study that may come back with no.
Let me respond in this way.
Yes,
this
please.
is not a delay. This is a request for more information, or at least for me to make a decision on the site. That's what it is. I don't think it's a delay. There's not enough information here for me.
And then again, depending on the study, that could see that by making a couple maybe changes like you're pointing out there, could minimize the chance.
Let me ask, Counselor, let me ask you this question. If we were to vote on this evening and give them a conditional approval, which is the recommendation of the if I'm not mistaken, is the, looking at the, I've got so much stuff here now, I've lost my, if we were to, where's my staff report? It's somewhere here. Here. Okay. If we were to recommend a conditional approval of the site plan, subject to the following conditions, could we add the traffic impact study as one of the conditions to the conditional approval?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a solution.
So we add that, we give them see if you follow me with this for a minute, Rich.
No, I do.
Yeah, follow me for a minute. Entertain me. So we add that, because we say we're going to give them the conditional approval of the site plan application, subject to the following conditions, 1 through, what is it, 1 through, I think it's 10 or so, 1 through 8, and a bunch of alphabetical bullet points beneath each one of those. And we add to that number 9, provide a site impact study, right? Is that the correct term?
Sure.
We provide a traffic impacts study that we can review. So we give them their conditional approval, and then they provide the traffic impact study. How do we review that? Because then that all falls to Heather,
Right,
correct?
she just checks it as something that's been submitted.
So, but from the zoning commission standpoint,
Right.
what happens after that? They meet all the conditions. They provide the traffic impact study, and let's just suppose that the traffic impact study has bad news. Okay, says there's some major, this is fraught with some issues, and Mr. Ifelice's concerns are fully realized. Okay, what happens?
I don't know. I mean, I would think that when you conditionally approve something, such as what has been recommended by staff here tonight, without the traffic impact study, let's say, but even adding another condition, whatever it may be,
Right.
as long as those are met, I
Yeah,
think
they can't-
administratively by the
Right,
zoning
right.
inspector, they're met. And so therefore, whatever sign off or compliance or whatever permit or whatever needs to be issued is issued administratively, not by
Right.
the zoning.
Now, do you see where I'm trying to get with this, Heather? Do you understand where I'm going? Are you following me? So let's say, for instance, we do this. We add that condition for the
To provide a traffic impact study,
for
but
the
then
traffic
who gets
impact.
to analyze that?
Right.
You don't ever get to see that.
Right.
So I don't know what
that's-
the
see
point
that-
of.
how to see
So the
that.
document gets done, it's submitted to me, and then what? Like, there's
Right.
nothing attached to that, so I don't.
So do we reconvene as a board to look at that traffic impact study?
You don't have
What-
the ability to do that. Once you
'Cause
vote
we've
on the
already-
application and they
Right.
agree to all the conditions, you're done.
Right. That's kind of what I'm at. So if we do this, we request that they put together a traffic impact study as a condition. They provide the traffic impact study. They've met that condition, right? It's not actionable on our part. It's not actionable, correct? Nothing we can do once if we add that as a condition. So really adding it as a condition doesn't really solve the problem.
Unless you condition that on, some sort of further review.
By the county.
Or by I don't know how we can't really bind the county
Yeah.
to that, right? We can only
Well,
bind
they're-
this township, so.
They're our engineer.
Sure, but,
Yeah.
playing devil's advocate, and clearly they didn't ask for this, right? So this
Right.
is something that the township's asking, so I understand what you're saying, that, yeah, we would like to have the county weigh in, but in the event that they don't, I don't know that we can force them to weigh in, right?
Okay.
The township also contracts with an engineering firm to do work, but I don't know that I have the authority to say that, we would hire them to review the study. I mean, that would be something that was above my pay grade, so I'd have to speak with, administrator or trustee
I'm trying
about
to
that.
I'm trying to get this across the finish line in a reasonable way. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to move us in that direction without compromising Rich's concern. And I'm trying to, so that then really the only thing, Counselor, the only thing I see right now, based on kind of wargaming this through, is to table this for now until we get the traffic impact study, because then we still have an opportunity to make a decision. Because if we conditionally approve it, and add the condition of the traffic impact study, we're out of it, we're done, okay? And regardless of the results of that traffic impact study, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, we're done.
But it goes to the trustees then.
Not that I know of. I don't know if that's the process. Do
No.
they approve the
Don't they have
plans?
final say if we conditionally approve?
No,
No.
Okay.
no.
Okay, Mr. Arbuckle, do you
Yeah.
have any thoughts?
Yeah, a few. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pac Bell's responded finally to my text. And I asked if he would commit to a traffic study. I said, it delays us a month because it would come back presumably a month from now.
Right.
To the board. His answer was, that will kill our project and we won't get open this year. This is an obligation for us with Taco Bell corporate. Are they willing to some sort of conditional approval to allow us to get out to bid and get started? So that was his comment back. So
Right.
We've been up against the wall with corporate on this one. Pac Bells has to have a Taco Bell, new build Taco Bell open. They're contractually obligated with corporate by the end of the year. So that's the intent here. So yeah, delay a month would be very problematic. I do believe that they would commit to the traffic study as a condition. And if there's a way to word it so that we would work with staff at any recommendations based upon the traffic study and make conditional changes at that point. If there's a way to word it, I don't know.
No, there is. That's a good idea.
So, I mean, we would, suggest alternates if the traffic study came back with a negative report or negative comments, then we would redesign parking, work with the county, work with whoever it would be if it does involve a new roadway, landlord, et cetera, to mitigate those.
Now, then my question on that process is, what does that unduly burden Heather and put her in a position of being, interpreting the results and shepherding this process along? I don't want to hang Heather out to dry on this. You know what I'm saying? Unnecessarily.
She needs a professional, the TIS,
Yeah.
she needs a professional to understand what that is, what those reports, because
Right.
they're not like A or F, A plus or fail.
So Counselor, can we, in the condition that we would stipulate, can we put wording in that? Can we put wording in that would address, because we're concerned about the negative aspect of the traffic. That's what we're concerned about. So if the traffic impact study comes back and it's just a big nothing burger, okay, then it's no big deal, right? You're okay?
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
But if the traffic impact study comes back and says, oh boy, this is a freaking rat's nest,
And they're out to bid.
then what?
Yes.
So, I mean,
So can we put wording?
for sure, and also, just so you know, the Township Zoning Commission does have authority to employ certain professionals. So while this might fall on Heather, I mean, the Board of Trustees would have to obviously fund that request, okay? So that would be, but you guys could hire a professional to assist in the traffic impact study analysis if that's required.
And if I may on that, if it appears, I mean, if in staff's opinion, and again, I don't mean to burden you either, Heather, whether it's Heather or someone else on staff, I don't know. But if it's in their opinion, their professional opinion that it is negative, then that would be warranted, I think, at that point, as opposed to automatically having to have the county or the township pay for engineering. If, as you said, it comes back, it's a nothing burger, or it's minor to staff's opinion, whether, again, it's Heather or others. And again, we're not opposed to taking it back to the county to have it ask for their
Right.
review as well, if we have to. And they have agreed, Matt has agreed to have it done. He would just prefer to have it done as a condition as opposed to waiting a month. A month, he just said, will cost us tens of thousands of dollars, if not 100,000. This just happened to us in Greenville. So,
Can I ask you a question? So when you talk about, you know, possibly getting this conditionally approved, going out to bid, just so you understand, like, I would not be giving you approval with the zoning permit until we knew that all of the conditions are being complied with and met. So that would not give you any authority from my position to give you a go-ahead to start construction or anything at that point.
Plus, can I ask, would it be also after they approved the meeting minutes? You would have to give that approval?
The BZA.
No, zoning commission would have to approve this meeting minute in order for it all to be triggered, am I
And
right?
I would defer to you on that.
Okay. So I mean, that's another
Yeah.
thought though, as far as, it's not like it's gonna happen necessarily tomorrow, even if there's a conditional approval.
understood that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we know it's not gonna be tomorrow, but we also know
Yeah,
a month from now, they approve the minutes and we have the certificate.
Yep.
I mean, we're in a plan review right now with the county with the
okay,
hope that plan review is done when we have certificate.
okay.
So how long would you expect to get a TIS study done and then
We,
provided to the township, and then it would be like, I'm not gonna be qualified to look at that to even know if like the baseline data that you provided in there is even accurate for the area. You know, I don't know who you're going to hire to do that. Do they have the local knowledge? And I feel like this board would definitely have to hire
it would be the
an
same.
engineer
I mean,
to
the TIS
review
would
it.
be Done by the same engineer that did the
Marty Carpenter.
Because unfortunately, I don't have any confidence in the county engineer to get back to us to try to use them to review it based on what we requested and gave them a lot of time to look at that and no feedback. So I can't use the county to review the TIS. There's no quick turnaround on that. I feel like the township and the zoning commission would definitely have to hire the consultant that we have to review that for
The
those.
thing that kind of disturbs me is that how did this go through so many hands and not get flagged?
Yeah, red flags.
I mean,
Well,
it takes a zoning.
There's not a lot of
it
hands. I
takes
mean,
a-
it's BZA, you guys, and then the county engineer who
but
just
I mean,
decided that
I
it wasn't
mean-
important to comment on it. You know?
Right, but I mean, it's gone through, there's been a lot of people who've looked at this. They've got all the approvals that they need, right?
No,
It's
they don't have all their.
from the,
We're at building review right now and this approval are the last two, health department. But they're in health department review as well,
right.
which we can't get approval from them until we have the certificate from zoning. So they're simultaneous, concurrent, I should say.
I have to believe KeyBank would have concerns. I'm drawing on this map and there's cars going all around their building. And to get to Taco Bell or to get out of Taco Bell. Have they had any input, Heather? KeyBank? I mean, that's,
I've not spoken to any of them.
it's not really a road, it's their parking lot. And you've got cars coming in from all different angles here, potentially.
Yeah, I think that as a combined lot though, I think that was expected when they built there.
Maybe so.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, it's gonna be in reverse, key bank traffic cutting through Taco Bell
Impacting yours,
parking
right.
lot,
True,
so to speak.
it would be, yeah.
To a lesser extent. I mean, and actually, in reality, the developer was the one that suggested to cross the tie at the back to access Friedel Road. And we shut that down for traffic concerns of our own. And like I said, I didn't want our traffic leaving and driving backwards through Key Bank's drive-through. So they were,
Thank you.
they were heading straight at it. And so, you know, that's a good one. I could absolutely see that happening. But again, that's the way the sketch plan was. So, I mean, it's not that serious thought hasn't went into this. It has, our engineers have done that. It has been to the county. We did have the trip generation report done. So, yeah, and it was discussed at the BZA and did pass. So traffic was discussed at length there. It was a rather long meeting to start with that night, and it lasted even longer that night, as you all may recall.
Right.
Because there was a lot of discussion about traffic, and so, and it still passed there. So, you know, I'm not disputing the concerns. I think that they've been vetted, though, at that other forum.
In your experience, how long is normally something like this taken, a study like this?
Study?
Yeah.
I think we can have, Rich would probably know, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mr., I can't
No,
pronounce your last
Rich
name,
is
I'm sorry.
fine. Don't worry about the last.
He would know better than I, but I would think that it'd be done in a couple of weeks.
Couple weeks.
Weeks?
So,
Yep.
Because, you know, we can schedule a special, you know, meeting here.
But even 2 weeks puts the project in jeopardy.
Okay.
So, what's the board's opinion on adding a ninth condition to produce a traffic impact study and providing a conditional approval versus tabling? Well, I mean, we know what the impact table, you know, I just hate to do that. I just hate to table this. I really do.
I'm sorry, because
I just
I
think,
just curious, I don't understand. Tabling is, again, I don't have enough information, but again, the board couldn't get three, you can vote. I don't have enough information for me.
Well, based on that, I got a good feeling how the vote's gonna go tonight.
Well, that's all I can say.
You know.
The commitment to correct things, if the study shows there needs to be correction,
Sure, I understand where you're coming from.
it
I
has to
agree.
come, it has to come back to us,
Yeah, I agree.
in my opinion. I think we had something that didn't come back to us. That development,
Villa's a canner one.
catalyst didn't come back to us. All the, if you recall, it didn't come back.
So conditional approval tonight with that ninth condition that you're talking about would allow the project to proceed. And if the study came back and said the problem was minimal or non-existent, everything's fine. The only catch is if it comes back and says there is a problem there. That's the only little thing that I'd be concerned
Well,
with.
if it comes back and there's a problem, it sounds like you would be open to addressing the issue.
absolutely. We're
And-
not trying to cause problems by any means.
Right, but you'd be open to doing your best to try to minimize
Yeah.
our concerns by working out and making some kind of changes to the access to take care of that situation.
Taco Bell, yeah,
Yeah.
Pacific Bells is absolutely. I can't
Sure.
speak for the developer, the landlord, so, or the county, or
No, I understand.
Key Bank. So there's multiple parties that I don't speak for.
Oh, I understand.
So, but we would be willing to address those with all those parties if the study comes back.
okay.
Well, there we would be achieving the
Counselor, what
goals.
would be can you give me a framework? I'm going to put you on the spot
They're
here.
afraid that was
Can
coming.
you give me the framework for a condition number 9?
Well, when you say number 9, I apologize. So which
Because there's 8, right now there's 8 conditions. So this would be the 9th condition. Because right now we have 8 conditions on here.
So then you would add a 9th condition, right?
Yeah, the 9th condition would be that the applicant would produce a traffic impact study for review. And if the traffic, see, this is where this kind of gets sticky for me, is that if the traffic impact study does not return any negative results, then there would be no reason to withhold the process. If the traffic impact study yields a negative result, then the applicant would have to work with who to get that fixed? Who would they work with?
Would it be with zoning, with Heather?
So,
That's outside of my expertise.
That's
I mean,
what I
and my
mean. So,
authority.
So would we then commission a professional? Would we go to the trustees and ask them to fund what would it be? Rich?
Consulting engineer.
Consulting
Experienced in
engineer.
traffic. Yeah, traffic consulting engineer.
Traffic consulting engineer to resolve with the applicant the issues that have been found in the traffic impact study. Does that sound reasonable?
And so make the changes to the traffic pattern that would minimize
Impact.
impact. Thank you. And that would address everything. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, to the extent I can, yes.
Yes, I understand. I understand.
And again, I'm speaking for us,
Sure.
Pacific Bells, the client, our client.
Right.
Sure. I
So
understand.
not the landlord, not Key Bank, not the county. There are all other players in this. So,
Sure. Sure.
so, but yeah, we would absolutely approach those if the traffic impact study came back.
Right.
There you go. And Rich, that should take your concerns, and mine too. of
Yeah,
course.
Rich, what do you think about that? What's your thought on that? Give me your thought.
The concern, rather than thought, is it wouldn't come back to us. Once we do a conditional approval, it's done. I don't know how the wording could mean that
Well, no, I don't think we're
we're see-
done. We're done.
Could the
but-
wording say, if there are changes as a result in the design, the plans have to be resubmitted?
Counselor, can you do that or no?
Or the applicant agrees to make the changes to meet the traffic
well,
study.
but the plans are going to be, I mean, some of the conditions that are, right, that are actually recommended do require a revised.
Yeah,
So going
it's a
back to having
conditional.
plans.
It's a conditional approval based on the applicant's meeting of those conditions. Okay.
Okay.
So it's It's not a approval. It's a conditional approval
Okay.
that we're given. Okay.
Okay.
So that gives us, being the township, the opportunity to address any negative issues that would come out of this traffic impact study. But I don't see it coming back to us as the zoning commission for any further discussion. I think once we, if I'm thinking this through properly, once we provide the conditional approval tonight, if that's what we do, okay, and we would need 3 votes out of 4 to do that. If we did that, then the issue from that point would be between the engineer and Heather and the applicant to hash out any negative impacts that would be found in that study. Is that acceptable to this board? That's my question. Is that an acceptable result? Would you be okay with that?
Because if that's,
So we won't see it.
No,
we won't see it, but based on.
but it's going to get worked out
It'll be
because it's a
seen, but not by
condition.
us.
It's a
Not by-
condition of the approval that we've set forth this evening with this adding this additional condition to this approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
and Brady, I'm reading the zoning resolution under 3610. The deviations from an approved plan. So,
Yeah, that's it.
first of all, this is a unique situation we've never
Right.
been in before.
Right.
But traditionally, if an applicant gets conditional approval and then they meet all the conditions and then they get their zoning permit and then for some reason they have to make a change, there are minor and major modifications.
Right.
One thing that is considered a major modification is a change in the internal street thoroughfare location alignments or
Which impact
which
traffic.
impact traffic patterns and safety considerations. So I guess I have a question for Bridie then. If this was conditionally approved based on getting this TIS study and then if there were negative impacts and then they had to make changes and if it was considered major, would it then be still required to come back to this board?
So maybe that's how you would want to word it.
That's how you
If it's
word
a major modification that's required, it would have to come back to this board.
Okay.
Okay,
But if it's not major,
Are you good with that, Rich?
yes, it's in writing. It's like
then
3610,
at least you have that authority per the resolution.
it's in the resolution.
So can you craft I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Brian.
No, it's okay, it's just I
You're
want to
gonna
make
earn
sure
you're
that.
gonna earn your money tonight. Can you craft a condition, number 9?
So
Allows
the,
the project to begin though, right?
Back of this.
Well, we would provide a conditional approval.
He begins the project.
Well, I mean, for what as far as,
Yeah. The issue of this wouldn't come up for months anyway,
Right.
during the construction phase.
so, can you do that for me, Brian?
so maybe ninth condition, applicant to provide a traffic impact study within a certain amount of days? No?
No, that's,
I don't think I want to go that far.
Okay.
In a timely manner.
Yeah.
In a timely manner.
Okay.
I mean, their project,
project.
it's their project. I
We don't
doubt
have
that they're
to
going to
say
drag
that.
their
We
feet
don't
to
have to
get
say
this
that.
done. I'm
Right.
pretty sure they're going to
I'm
bust.
making a call when I.
Right, I'm
walk
pretty
out
sure
the
they're
door.
going to bust their
You
hump
already
to get
texted
this
them.
done as quickly
I
as
am, I'm
possible.
texting right now.
Right.
Get the engineer on the hook.
They'll be on them.
Applicant to provide to the township a traffic impact study
should the findings.
and should the results of the traffic,
Findings.
findings of the traffic impact study suggest,
Major modification.
For 3610.
suggest any modifications that are classified as major modifications as defined in the township zoning resolution.
Under what section?
What section?
3610.
36.10,
3610. Put that in there.
Right,
I think we're there.
then
because it's in writing.
the zoning commission, or then the plan shall be revised
Right. And they would have to come back to the zoning commission for approval.
and be submitted to the township zoning commission
Right.
for consideration of approval of the revised plan.
Sounds like a plan.
Right?
I have a question though, because you said that if the TIS suggests changes that are major modifications, what Mr. Arbuckle said earlier is that it's not going to suggest changes.
No,
But it might say what is needed, right? It won't say, okay, make this curb cut here, or
Let's say
take
what
away-
the problems are.
They're going to
see
say
what
what
the
the
problems
problems are. They're not really going to suggest changes the way I think we worded
Right.
this.
a good
So-
engineer might.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't know how else we get it back before the township zoning commission if it's not a major modification.
Right. If it's not a major, and I think, but I think that follows I think, and was a great find, Heather, by the way. That was a great find on your part, pointing that out, that 3610 component with the major and minor modification component. I think that alleviates, that gives us an opportunity, if it becomes a major issue, that's going to be back in front of us, which I think will solve Rich's concern. Right, Rich?
Yes, yes,
Right. So I'm good with that.
yes.
I'm good with
Very
that.
good.
I think we've figured it out. Okay? So do you have something for me to read, Bridie?
Oh, I thought Heather was writing it down.
I did write it.
Shoot,
Yeah.
Heather-
I
Yeah.
had like
Wrote it
little
down?
scribbles
Okay.
and I'm going,
All right.
I think
You
I
were
have most of
dictating,
it.
Heather was writing?
she was furiously writing it.
I was trying to write it
Great.
out. I can try repeating it. I have
Yeah.
the
No.
applicant to provide a traffic impact study to the township, and should the findings of the traffic impact study suggest any changes that are considered major modifications as set forth in 3610, then the site plan shall be revised and resubmitted to the zoning commission for review.
Yes,
Bang.
Does that,
I think that gets us there. You okay with that, Bridie?
yes, I am.
do you need me to
You're
say
okay
it
with
again?
that?
Or?
No, I'm
All right, that's, you're on the record, by the way.
You okay, Frank?
Yes,
Frank, you okay with that?
yes,
Mr. Peterson, you okay with that?
Fine with that.
Mr. Ifelis?
Yes, sir.
yep,
Okay,
fine.
all right. Man. I need a drink. Good stuff. Good stuff, though. It's amazing what happens when smart
for
people
sure.
go through things like this, right? We go through the mental exercise. Okay, so,
Mr. Chairman, do you want to, I know before you guys do make your motion and vote on this, just make sure that the applicant does agree to
yeah, I was just gonna say,
all of the
Mr.
other
Arbuckle, if you could
conditions. I
come
know we
back
kind of
up,
talked
if you
about
could
that
come
at the
back up to
beginning,
the
but
podium,
just to
please.
get that on record.
Okay, so we have in front of us, this zoning application number 59. And we are going to add one additional condition to the conditional issues that have already been brought to your attention. And it was your testimony at the beginning in your presentation that you were aware of all of these issues and that you were okay with making these things. And what I'm going to do for the record, I'm going to read through these, so you just have to bear with me. It'll just take me a minute to get through this. Okay, so staff recommendation is including conditions as appropriate. The staff recommends a conditional approval of the site plan review application subject to the following conditions. Number one, revise civil plans to increase the width of the asphalt access drive to maintain a minimum width of 22 feet in lieu of the 20.5 feet provided. Number two, update civil plans to show the parking lot light pole locations. Do me a favor, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So, because nobody can hear
Yes.
your
I'm
nodding
sorry,
your
yes.
head.
I was going to say yes at the end of all of them, but yes.
Right. Number three, update civil plans to show location of all proposed freestanding signs.
Yes.
Update number four, update civil plans to show mobile pickup parking spaces.
Yes.
Okay. Number five, eliminate the proposed non-compliant 12-foot tall freestanding sign from the project.
Eliminating the 12-foot tall freestanding sign. Yes.
Okay. Number six, work with the Concord Fire Department to provide a barrier between the drive-through and the existing gas well to the east that satisfies the fire department's safety concern, such as a landscape mound or guardrail with landscaping for screening, and update the plans.
Yes.
Okay, number seven, sheet C201, provide an updated zoning data block with the following items. A, land area with property lines, acres and square feet. B, gross floor area, square feet. C, number of buildings. D, number of stories. E, maximum height of buildings. F, impervious surface area, percentage of square feet. G, building setbacks, front, side, and rear. H, building spacing. I, parking area, square feet. J, parking spaces required. K, parking spaces provided. L, handicap parking required. And M, handicap parking provided.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 8, update plans to address the Lake County stormwater comments below. A, show proposed finished grades at the corners of the building. B, the curb inlet and small section of RCP storm sewer that discharges towards Waffle House should be removed and revised. Please revise this to either show a structure that routes the water northeast to the proposed outfall, or revise the grading of this driveway to sheet flow east/northeast towards the proposed curb inlet. The building downspout should also be considered in this revision. C, please show a swale in the open space area between the drive and Waffle House parking lot en route to route water and east and northeast. D, please add additional pavement and top of curb elevations along both sides of the eastern part of the driveway and along the southeast edge of the parking lot. E, specify length and width for the rock outlet protection. F, provide a storm sewer tabulation showing the storm system meets county conveyance standards. G, include proposed disturbance on sheet C301 along with pre and post impervious area amounts. H, show concrete washout locations on sheet C301. And I, plans are subject to detailed review and revision.
Yes.
And then number 9 will be Heather.
That the applicant will provide to the township a traffic impact study, and should the findings of the traffic impact study suggest any changes that are considered major modifications as set forth in 3610 of the zoning resolution, that the plan will be revised and resubmitted to the zoning commission for review.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. At this point, gentlemen, I would entertain a motion in the affirmative.
I'll do it. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to conditionally approve application number 59 with the 9 conditions noted.
Can I have a second?
I second.
Okay, I have a motion made and seconded. Heather, would you call the roll for vote?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Schindler?
Yes.
Mr. Ifelis?
I'm gonna vote yes, and I want to thank the board for indulging my comments, and I also appreciate the professionalism of Mr. Arbuckle here, the applicant, this evening.
Very good.
Yes.
And Mr. Lingenfelter?
Yes. Okay, that's, if my grade school math is correct, that's 4 ayes, no nays, and no abstentions, and your conditional permit has been approved. And Mr. Arbuckle, we do appreciate you working with us on this. I would like to second Mr. Ifelis's comments. We appreciate your professionalism. Sometimes we run into very unusual situations, and this by far definitely put us into that category, and we appreciate you kind of hanging with us and helping us get through this process. And you know, hopefully this traffic impact study becomes a non-issue, and we can streamline this through, and you guys can move forward with your project. And I wish you nothing but the best and success.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. Appreciate all your comments.
Thank
too.
you.
I really do.
Yeah.
Thank you for working with us on
Yeah.
it and understanding our predicament we're in
Good.
as well. So
Yep.
thank you all.
All right.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
I'll be talking.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a safe 4th.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Hiram would have had a problem with the kitchen drain.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Just that you brought it up.
So that concludes the new business portion of our agenda this evening. And we can go on to old business. And we have proposed zoning text amendments to Section 5 definitions and Section 15 residential district. And then we have a work session to review zoning district uses for both commercial and residential districts. It's now 9:02 p.m. And I would be okay if we table this old business to our next meeting.
Please.
We're okay with that?
Anything pressing?
Is there any harm in tabling this until the next meeting, Heather?
I don't think so.
Are we under any
No.
deadlines or we have anything pending that would be an issue for us to deal with on this?
Just depended on how, if you wanted to potentially initiate any of the text amendments that we've been discussing about the garage sizes, you know.
What's
I
the
don't-
board's pleasure?
I just didn't know how
okay
much
with
we were
tabling
gonna,
it.
if we are kind of in good shape on that, or if that was gonna go quick, or if you want to just delay that for next month, that's obviously it's your call.
Let me get my stuff organized.
But I don't want to
here.
rush anything either, so if you guys
Right.
are losing steam, it might be best to hold off and, you know, think it through to make sure that,
Let's go through with a fresh mind, huh?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mentally I'm spent.
Yeah.
I mean, I seriously am. This, you know, it was a great exercise. I appreciate everybody's input. Bridie, I appreciate your counsel this evening. And gentlemen at the board here, I appreciate your thoughtfulness. I mean, this was a very well-conducted meeting. The professionalism was beyond reproach, in my opinion. And I think it was a win-win for everybody. I think we got some issues resolved and some concerns addressed. And we were able to reach everything in a very reasonable time frame. So with that said, we will table the old business issues, both number 1 and 2. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be August, if you can believe it. Holy smokes, we're already working on August. The year is just chugging along.
I know.
And are there any other things anybody wants to discuss or anything else we want to see on the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with that, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Good job.